Hi, my name is Alina Alvarado, and I'm going to be sharing with you my intervention, which is encouraging healthy eating habits in college students. So let's start with what is the problem? The reason that I decided to choose this topic for the intervention is because I've personally noticed as a student that a lot of college students do make poor nutritional choices when they eat. If you think about after school or after studying for a long time, you're really tired, and a lot of times it's easier to go ahead and pick up a fast food item like a McDouble or a Spam musubi or something versus going home and cooking something healthy for you. And I wanted to do this intervention to show that there is a way to have healthy food available to you that's not difficult and not as expensive. Um, and I think it's really important for this because the number one killer in the United States is cardiovascular disease. And one of the primary preventative measures that we can take is eating healthier. Therefore, I think that this intervention is absolutely called for. The problem with reaching for things that are quick and fast, like fast food, it's often energy dense and nutrient poor, meaning that it doesn't provide a lot of nutrition for the student. Though it gives you energy, the energy is like a spurt versus eating something healthier, which will provide energy for a longer amount of time and is more nutritious. So the goal of the intervention is to impact students' decisions to make more nutritious eating choices. That is, at the end of this, they will want to make more nutritious eating choices themselves. Okay, so a month prior to the intervention, we would start getting it ready. So we would contact students from the kinesiology, psychology, and nursing department to assist in the intervention. The kinesiology department, I would have them maybe go ahead and do a presentation during the first event about, different stretches and like the importance of keeping your body healthy. I would have the psychology department help with making the survey that will be used to assess the intervention, as well as run a few of the booths. And I would have the nursing department contacted to also just assist in the first event for the intervention. The second person we would contact would be a restaurant in Hilo that is known for its nutritious meal options, such as Vibe Cafe or Sweet Cane Cafe. And they would be contacted to provide sponsorship, and they would help in the week 2 portion of this intervention, which I will talk about later. Finally, we would contact a nutritionist to give a seminar during this intervention, and again, this will be discussed later in the Zoom. So the intervention would be announced 1 week prior in the What's Happening emails, and those are those emails that students get every week, every Sunday before the week starts, that kind of goes over the events that are happening. And so this is how we would have the intervention introduced. And of course, permission to run the intervention from the university would be given before we start this as well. All right, so week 1. So week 1 would begin on Monday. We'd have an 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. event. The first event would be a poster pop-up event. So this would be outside of the UH Hilo Library. We'd have a whole bunch of tables set up with different booths discussing different nutritional educational things, such as how to read food labels better, such as the blood pressure check area with the nursing students. And we'd also have a booth that just talks about the importance of choosing healthy things. So the students would listen to a little talk about nutritional education and why it's important to pick foods that are healthier and more nutritious versus energy dense and nutrient poor. And at the end of this intervention, they would be given the opportunity to take a snack. And this idea that we're going here uses the social influence of conformity, because the students are going to be given the opportunity to have either a healthy snack or an unhealthy snack. Now, the hopes is that after them listening to this intervention discussing why it's important to eat more nutritious choices, that they would choose the healthy snack in order to follow with the influence of conformity, as well as follow balance theory. Now, balance theory is to kind of keep everything level and everything happy. They would choose the healthier snack as well. Finally, we're using the mere exposure effect in week 1 specifically. I'd say more than in week 2 because we want to get the students to see many different forms of nutritional education, and it's going to happen throughout this intervention in different ways. But like getting them to see all this information about nutrition at once is going to get them to associate nutrition with positive things. So the second event for week 1 would be on Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. And this will be the seminar with the licensed nutritionist that we contacted. The nutritionist would go over why it's important to make nutritious eating choices and how different foods that we eat do affect our energy levels. I think students hearing this would take into consideration how this is affecting their studying, because in order to study for the amount of time needed, you do need that energy. And if it's coming from a licensed nutritionist who has that background, who has studied the field and knows what they're talking about, students hearing this will be more likely to listen to them versus students giving information at the poster pop-up event. And this is using also the principle of consistency because we are continuing to discuss nutritional education in different ways. All right, week 2. So week 2, again, would begin on Monday. It would also be announced in those What's Happening emails on that Sunday. Monday, we'd actually have 2 events. From 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., we would have a free Blue Zones approved lunch, and this would be from the restaurant that has Healthy Choices that we contacted prior. With this lunch, when students come, they will get an invitation to a cooking class that night, which is hosted by the local restaurant. Now, we're using the foot in the door technique here by giving them something for free and then asking them to commit to something smaller. It's kind of like building on that principle of commitment and consistency. So by giving them the lunch, we are hoping that they will come to the cooking class. This lunch will be given outside of the UH Hilo library as well. And the cooking class will be in the UH Hilo kitchen. And the cooking class will begin at 6:30 p.m. and it'll be an hour-and-a-half event until 8 p.m. Students will be given instruction on how to cook a meal that is healthy and that is low cost. And resources on healthy eating and healthy recipes will be provided at this event as well. Giving these students these tools to know how they can eat healthy, but how to do it on like a cost-friendly budget is really important, because cooking for yourself, it gives students the ability to control what they are consuming. So Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. would be our second event for the week. It would be the final event. We would have a student activity center movie nights. However, this time we would provide healthy foods. Oftentimes at these movie nights, foods that are provided are things like musubis, bentos, fast food like McDonald's or Taco Bell, which is what students want. However, after students learn about nutrition and the importance of making nutritious choices, we would hope that students would kind of shift their views to prefer healthy snacks such as carrot sticks, such as frozen bananas, such as maybe a vegan option. This is the kind of things that we would have at this movie night. This would happen in the Students Activities Center, and we are using the mere exposure effect here again by just instead of only talking about healthy foods, we're also going to provide them for students because students love free food. Why this should work. So this intervention involves many different social psychology principles and theories. We have the principle of conformity, mere exposure effect, foot in the door. We have a lot of them going on. So I'm hoping that these would kind of contribute to students making healthier choices and kind of following along with the intervention. We also have an abundant amount of resources. We have the food from the restaurant. We have healthy recipes available. We have a blood pressure check available. We have lots of information at the poster pop-up event available. So we're providing students with all these different resources so they can get educated. They have the opportunity to do so. And there's a huge emphasis on the nutrition education that is provided here. How will the intervention be evaluated and assessed? So immediately before and directly after every event that they participate in, the students will be given a survey. Now, questions on the survey would include like, do you believe that you eat the amount of vegetables / fruit required in a day? And students will be given this information prior. So like, do you believe that if it's 6 to 8 servings, for example, they'd say like, do you eat 6 to 8 servings of vegetables a day? Yes or no, and then immediately after they would be given the same survey. We would take this and turn it into statistical data using SPSS to evaluate if the presentations and all of these things affected students' views after seeing the presentations and the other types of information provided to them. Secondly, at the end of this intervention, all students that participated will receive a final email surveyed them to evaluate a possible increase in nutritional knowledge. Now what this is it's the same survey again, however they're filling it out after going through the full 2 weeks. And we're just kind of taking this to see how big of a change it is from their initial survey to the end. Finally, in that survey, a meal voucher will be included for the restaurant that hosted the like healthy meal and cooking class thing. And what we do with this is this voucher would be good for the rest of the intervention month. So because it takes place in 2 weeks, students would have 2 weeks to go ahead and redeem this free meal. And at the end of this month, we would go ahead and take the vouchers, count them up, and see how many students use them. Because it's important to see that so we can see how many of them are choosing healthy meals, especially since it's free. It would drive students more to go. The last way that we are going to assess would actually be, we were using this earlier in the intervention, was when the students were offered, after listening to the presentation, they were offered either a healthy or unhealthy snack. We'd actually take a little tally mark of if they chose healthy or unhealthy, and we'd go ahead and add it up. The goal, of course, would be that more students chose healthy snacks versus unhealthy snacks. The closing statement is that, you know, nutritional education is very important. If it wasn't emphasized enough in this presentation, it's really important that students do know what they are consuming, because, you know, I don't think it's fair if you're consuming all these things and, you know, you weren't taught before what is healthy and what is unhealthy. It's important to know what you're putting into your body, what you're getting yourself into, because at this age, you know, cardiovascular disease isn't going to pop up as much, but we're setting the tone for the rest of our lives. And I think that it's important that college students have the opportunity to get this education and to make a change in their life if they need to. It's important that the university would offer healthier choices to students if they realize that, you know, eating healthier is something that they would like to do, because of course the intervention doesn't have the potential to reach everybody because there's other factors involved. However, I would hope that majority of students that do go through this intervention would be impacted in some way to want to make healthier nutritional choices. And yeah, thank you for listening to my presentation. I look forward to hearing feedback. Bye.